Good afternoon, everybody. Is everyone excited to be here today? Yes. Awesome. I'm Brittany Morgan from Sarah Heinz House Boys and Girls Club of Pittsburgh. Welcome to Earth Day Live with Energy Star. We are broadcasting live online at www.epa.gov/live, so everyone from across the nation can tune in and watch. Today, in honor of Earth Day, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Administrator Lisa P. Jackson is here to answer our questions about the environment and energy efficiency. We'll also be taking questions from kids like us across the country who have sent in videos online. First, I would like to introduce Ms. Maria Vargas from EPA's Energy Star program and present her with a few gifts on behalf of our appreciation. I would also like to give this to the administrator, too. Here you go.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
These are cool. Great. Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you to the Sarah Heinz House Boys and Girls Club of America. We are thrilled to be here. So before we get started, I just want to tell you something that's pretty cool. A year ago, almost to the date today, EPA, the organization I work for, the Environmental Protection Agency, signed a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of America. So clubs like yours and clubs all across the country. And my boss helped kick off that partnership on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. last year. So before we get started, I want to show you a quick video about some of the things that I know you all have done great work in energy efficiency in your community. And there are other Boys and Girls Clubs in America that have also done some amazing things. So I want to show you a little bit about what some of the kids in this country are doing to help protect our environment by using energy more efficiently. Let's watch the video.
In 2009, EPA's Energy Star program partnered with Boys and Girls Clubs of America and PTO Today to educate children about energy efficiency and protecting the environment. At clubs and schools all over the country, children learn how small changes can make a big difference.
We're teaching older kids to be responsible, not just themselves, but to be communicators of responsibility.
Reduce global warming, I think that's a really big issue that we're focusing on now.
Boys and Girls Clubs of America is pleased to partner with the EPA in the Change the World Energy Star initiative. We're very confident that the young people involved in this particular project will ultimately do just that, change the world, one club, one family, one community at a time.
At events from coast to coast, children learned, created, and performed to educate their communities about the connection between saving energy and protecting the environment. Thanks to these children and our Energy Star partners, the future will be a little bit brighter.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and get started with really why we're all here today. Having some questions get asked. Like Brittany said, I know some of you have questions, and there's also kids all over the country that have sent in questions for us to answer today. So we're going to get started. I'm going to answer the first question, and I want you all to hear what that is. But I also want you all to be thinking about any additional questions that you might have, because my boss is pretty good at answering any questions on the environment. So let's go ahead and watch the first question that got sent to EPA. It was sent all the way from Washington State, all the way out west. So let's hear the question that this young woman had.
My name is Jasmine. I'm from Tacoma, Washington. What is Energy Star?
Okay, who knows what Energy Star is? Any ideas in the room? Who knows what Energy Star is? Yeah. Okay, so he guessed it was a company trying to do something good for the environment to help stop greenhouse gases. Who else has a guess? Energy Star? Go ahead. Oh, got an answer? Yeah. A big ball of energy. Well, you guys are both kind of right. Part of my job at the EPA is to help run the Energy Star program. And EPA started this program a while ago, but it's an EPA program that companies can join. And you can look for that label on over 60 different kinds of products for your home. Now, I know you guys aren't shopping for refrigerators, but I bet you guys are interested in the TVs your parents buy and some of the computers and some of the home electronics. So what EPA is trying to do with Energy Star is to make sure that we use energy really efficiently and that we don't waste energy. So Energy Star is a program that's trying to help us all fight climate change by using energy in a way that's a lot smarter. So we don't waste it, and we use technologies that are new technologies that use less energy to do the same thing. So you can look for Energy Star on products, on homes, and on schools. So I want you all to start asking around the schools you go to and make sure that those buildings are using energy efficiently. But that's the last question I'm going to answer, because today the real reason you're here is to hear my boss, Administrator Lisa Jackson, talk to you and answer questions you have on the environment. Who knows what tomorrow is? Anybody know what tomorrow is? Oh my gosh, this is exciting. Okay, go ahead, yell it out. What is it? It's Earth Day. You guys are absolutely right. And no better person in this country to answer your questions on what we're doing to protect our planet than my boss. Administrator Jackson has 2 kids, so you know that she knows how to answer kids' questions and talk to you. And I want you to know that she manages a staff of people in Washington, D.C. She was selected by President Barack Obama to be the leader in this country on protecting our environment. She oversees about 17,000 people in Washington, D.C. that work on the environment. She grew up in New Orleans and went to school there, and she has a master's degree in chemical engineering. So I'm not going to talk anymore other than to say, I want you all, can you all give a round of applause to my boss, Administrator Lisa Jackson?
Well, thank you. My goodness, Boys and Girls Club, you look great today. Happy early Earth Day, right? Are you guys going to celebrate tomorrow? Do something for the Earth? One thing? Try to think of one thing for the Earth. I bet you we'll talk about that during the questions and answers. All right, I'm going to walk around a little bit because I want you guys to be thinking of answers. Oh, you're looking at yourself on TV, huh? That's pretty cool, too. All right. So we're going to get some questions. First question from the audience. Back here. What's it like doing what I do? Well, has anybody here ever remembered to turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth? Or turn off the light switch when you leave a room? I know your parents tell you to do that all the time. And don't you feel good inside? Why do you feel good? Because you're helping to do what? Help to save and protect the Earth. So that's what we do at EPA every day. So we feel awful good about it because it's kind of one of those jobs where you go home and you say, I tried to do a little bit to save the Earth, and we know that the Earth belongs to you guys, and so that makes me feel really happy.
It's probably another question.
Another question. This young man over here in a nice yellow shirt.
Hang on, wait for Brittany for the microphone.
Oh, a microphone's good.
What's the most dangerous thing for the Earth?
What's the most dangerous thing for the Earth? What's the biggest problem we have? Well, before I give you my opinion, I'd like to know what some of you think. What do you think's the biggest problem we have? You think it's garbage? Okay, very good. What do you think it is? Using gasoline? Like in our cars, okay? Because when you burn gasoline, you get what? You get air pollution. Right? So we have to try to work on that. What do you think it is, young lady in the pink? Polluting the water. Very nice answer. Putting stuff in the water because it pollutes. And what do you think it is, sir? Yeah, so he said he thinks it's pollution in the air mostly because what do you need to do to stay alive? The first thing you need to do is what? Breathe. So I think I would probably say that all of you are right. You asked for the absolute top one. We spend a lot of time at EPA working on different parts of air pollution. And one of the reasons that we love Energy Star isn't just because it saves money, and it does, and we'll talk about that, but because it saves pollution. Every time you save energy, you're actually helping air pollution. And so energy for us is a really, really big deal. Another question here?
Yeah, one more question.
This young lady in front is going to wait.
What is the EPA and why is it so important?
Very nice question. What is the EPA and why is it so important? Well, here's how I like to answer that question. Instead of telling you a long story about me going to work every day, you've all seen people go to work, I like to say, imagine if there were no EPA. So EPA is the place that protects the air and protects our water and cleans up toxic waste and worries about making sure that you have a healthy environment, a healthy school, a healthy home, a healthy church, a healthy playground. If there were no EPA, we would have a lot more pollution. Because EPA has been around for 40 years, much longer than most of you guys can think, we have cleaner air, we have much healthier water. Do you know that once upon a time the water was so polluted that it could burn? The water would catch on fire? That doesn't happen anymore because of people at EPA and people who work in your communities very hard to give us all clean water and air.
Okay, I want you guys to all keep thinking of questions, but we have one other. We got to give kids around the country who also wanted to ask the administrator some questions. So we have another question from Washington State. So let's watch TV and find out what this young lady's question was.
My name's Shakira. I'm from Tacoma, Washington. I want to know, what's a greenhouse gas?
Greenhouse gas. Wow, these are heavy science questions. How many of you like science?
Oh, that's great.
That's very good, too. Very nice. So a greenhouse gas, who knows what a greenhouse is? Have you ever seen a greenhouse? What happens inside of a greenhouse? Somebody said it. I heard it. Say it louder. Plants grow. Right. Plants grow inside a greenhouse. And the reason they grow is because it's cold or because it's warm? It's nice and warm and humid in there. So a greenhouse gas is any gas, you usually can't see it, that traps heat. It traps heat in our atmosphere. The most common greenhouse gas is one that you actually breathe out. What'd you say? CO2, carbon dioxide. Now, you breathing out carbon dioxide is not a problem. But the other things that breathe out carbon dioxide are cars and trucks and big factories and big power plants. And those gases have been building up in our atmosphere for a long time now, almost 100 years, and we're starting to see our atmosphere change and our climate change. So greenhouse gases build up and cause climate change. And how many have heard of that? Climate change. Yeah, we got a lot of scientists in this room. Very good question from Washington State.
And let's go ahead and take two more questions from kids here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Oh, he needs a microphone right here with the blue shirt.
Hi, my name is David, and I'm 14, and my question is, what is the most important environmental issue we should know about?
What's the most important environmental issue you should know about? Well, I like to think you probably want to spend your time on things that you can control. Everybody can do something to help the environment, every single one of you. And I think there's two issues that young people can spend a lot of time working on and feel really good about. The first is how important it is to recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. How many of you have heard that before? Right, remember the big triangle? Reduce, reuse, recycle. It's important because we can't waste. And there are two reasons why you shouldn't waste. The first is one your parents are going to like, and you'll like someday, and that it costs a lot of money. Every time you waste energy, every time you waste water, every time you forget to recycle a plastic bottle, somebody has to go out and make new plastic or clean more water because we wasted it. And all that costs our society money. And we're at a time now where we really need to, as Americans, use less. And so that's probably the one thing you can do. You can really think about how much you use, how much you waste. Try to cut down on how much you waste. Make sure you recycle. I know you recycle here. Make sure your school recycles. Help your teachers, help your parents to do that. And probably the other one is all about what? Energy. Maria talked about it. And everything you do takes energy, whether it's coming to school, sitting in school with the lights on, going home and turning on those TVs. Get outside and save some energy. Both are really good things. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Why is recycling important?
Why is recycling important? Because it saves money and it saves resources. Anybody know what resources are? Can we get somebody to tell me what's a resource? Any idea? Yeah, you had your hand up for something else. That wasn't very fair of me. What's a resource? He's like, I didn't ask for that one. What's a resource? Just yell it out. Yes, ma'am.
It's a thing we use every day.
It's something we use every day. We heard about gasoline here in this area. We talk about coal. We talk about paper. We talk about water. We talk about energy. Something we use every day. And do you think there's unlimited supplies? No. We're going to one day run out if we waste it. It's just like anything else if you waste it. And it costs us more. And that's one of the things that we Americans want. We want to cut down on our costs and stop wasting. So that's why recycling is so very important.
Okay, now I need to interrupt because there's a young man in New York who had a question for Administrator Jackson. Let's see what he wants to find.
Hi, my name is Ramil. I'm from New York, New York. I'm 22, and I was just wondering, what's the deal with global warming anyway? Some people say it exists, some people say it doesn't. What do you think, and why is there so much debate about it?
Well, so we talked about global warming, we talked about climate change. They're sort of the same thing. And there's a big debate that goes on from time to time about whether or not whether the climate is changing. Now that doesn't have anything to do with the weather. One day it's hot, one day it's cold. That's the weather. But the climate is what happens on our Earth over long periods of time. I believe the climate is changing, and so do all the big climate scientists. Some disagree, and so there's always going to be some debate about it. But EPA happens to be on the side of the issue that believes that the climate is changing. Our president said not long ago that right now there really shouldn't be any more debate. Instead of worrying about it, we should think about how we get cleaner energy, so we stop those emissions of greenhouse gases from building up as fast as they have been. And it is a big, big debate.
Okay, sorry, one more video question. This is a child from Massachusetts who wants to ask a question.
Hi, my name is Jason. I'm 9. I live in Millville, Massachusetts. And my question is, how does using electricity affect the environment?
Good question. How does using electricity here affect the environment? And does it affect it here or somewhere else? What do we think about that? This young man, yeah, what do you think? That's right. He said he thinks it makes pollution because it lets out gases and it causes too much heat. How do we get electricity? Does anybody know? Anybody know what happens inside a power plant? Yes, ma'am. Wow, she's going to be an electrical engineer someday, I think. She was talking about the electric circuit, and the circuit begins with generating power. And there's no little, mouse inside generating electricity. We get electricity from huge furnaces that burn either coal or natural gas or oil. And every time you burn something, it's just like a fire at home. There's gases. They're invisible for the most part. They should be, that get let off. But they're also air pollutants. And we worry a lot about air pollution. Can you name me one thing that happens if we have too much air pollution? One way that kids can get sick? Yeah. She said when it's cold outside, you can catch a cold. I bet your mom and dad tell you to put on a coat. But are there any things you've ever heard about that if the air pollution is bad on a certain day, you hear kids get what? Way in the back. Yeah, they breathe in the air, and my son has it. It starts with an A, asthma. A lot of kids have asthma, a lot of grown-ups too. And we know that of all the different kinds of pollution, one of them is what makes smog. So when you save energy, when we save energy by using Energy Star appliances or turning off the light, you're actually helping some kids somewhere, it could be a long ways away, who might have asthma. You can help another kid just by doing that one thing. That's why it's so important, because we all live on one big earth, and it's all connected. The air here is connected to the air back in D.C., is connected to the air in New York City, it's connected to the air in Washington, D.C., is connected to the air all around the world. And that's why every single action you take matters, not just here, but in our entire planet on Earth.
Let's go ahead and take a couple questions from students here in the audience.
Goodness gracious. Did you ask a question already? Yeah. You. Did you ask a question?
No, I know he's got a good one.
He's got a good one. He's ready. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm giving everybody a chance.
Hi, my name is Tavius, and I just wanted to know, where does energy come from, and are we going to run out?
Where does energy come from, and are we going to run out? Well, energy can come from a lot of places. I'm going to give you hints, and you try to guess what I'm thinking of. It's in the sky, and it can, well, the sun. So we have solar energy. Has anybody ever heard of solar power? Yeah, our country actually was probably amongst the first in the world to figure out how to use solar energy. Okay, here's another one. You're getting ready to go home. Some of you will have to get on a bus probably. And what makes a bus run? Gasoline or diesel fuel, probably. And every once in a while, you actually see a hybrid. So energy can come from burning a fossil fuel. Who's ever heard of fossil fuels? Why do they call it fossil fuels? Because fossil fuels really come from, hate to say it, but dead plants and animals. So an animal died millions of years ago, maybe a dinosaur, and as his body decays, it makes coal and gas and oil. And we burn that and get the energy back out. It's part of a big energy cycle. Okay, here's one more energy source. Yeah, wind, I heard it. Wind, right? So you can talk about big windmills. I saw some when my plane was landing here out in the countryside. Wind is a huge source of power, and there's some we don't even know about yet. There's chemical energy, there's energy from our oceans, all kinds of cool things. And there's fossil fuel, and then there's something called renewable energy. And renewable energy is cleaner, and one of the things that we work really hard on. Okay, last one. I have one more energy. Wait, before the question. I think I can take more than one question, but there's one more energy that people talk about. Has anybody ever heard of nuclear power? All right. So nuclear power is from the atom. Anybody like chemistry in here? All right. So you'll learn about that in chemistry class. All right. Another question. Yeah? Did you ask a question before? Okay, let me hear it.
Hi, my name is Simone, and my question is, what are 5 things I can do at home starting today to help the environment?
What are 5 things she can do at home? Let's try to help Simone think of 5 things. Anybody got one for her? Yeah. Recycle. At home and at school. Recycle. Very good. Another one? Turn off the lights when you leave the room. So that's the light switch, the lamp. Okay, very good. Another one? Yes, ma'am. Take a shorter shower. Very good. Save water. Is that what you said? I couldn't hear you, right? Yep. So save water, turn off the water, take shorter showers, and please, please, please don't let the water run when you're brushing your teeth. Give me another one. Somebody who hasn't spoken. Here, back here. I can't hear you, sweetheart. Turn off the TV when you leave the room. That reminds me of another one of my favorites. So Maria taught me something about vampires. Do you know we have power vampires at home? Has anybody ever heard of that? Those are the appliances that stay on and draw power even when you're not using them. And you know how you can find a vampire? The reason they call it a vampire, because at night, when all the lights are off in your house, and you see the clock, or you see blinking one of your extension cords to plug in your DS game, or you see an appliance that still has a light on, that means it's pulling electricity even when you're not there. So when you finish charging your video game, take the charger out the wall. Because even though it's not charging, it's pulling electricity and wasting electricity for no reason. So go and find vampires. So let's see, what did we come up with? Recycle, turn off the lights, take shorter showers, turn off the water when we brush our teeth, save energy by finding vampires. Can we give her one more just for fun? Yeah. Don't take baths was the first idea, but yeah, I'm not going to go with that. But clog the drains so that you're not wasting water, right? Water's so important. Yeah. Turning the heat down. There's a good one. How many of us in the winter, instead of making the house really warm, talk to your parents, talk to your caregivers, and say, hey, I don't mind putting on a hoodie. I don't mind putting on a sweater. I can take it a little cooler in here. Remember, you could be helping another kid somewhere who has asthma have a better day. Got a question over here? Okay, question.
How many trees are cut down a day?
How many trees are cut? I don't know. That's a very, very good question. But I tell you what, we worry a lot about trees. You know why? It's a good question for anybody who cares about the environment. What do trees do that's so wonderful? Yeah, this young man in green right here. Yeah. Remember that carbon dioxide that comes when we have greenhouse gases? You know what trees like? Yeah, they make oxygen. They breathe in carbon dioxide, they take it out, and they breathe out oxygen, which is what we need to live. So trees are kind of part of that whole cycle. We put it out, we breathe out CO2, and they breathe out oxygen. So it's like we need each other. Okay.
I think we have time for 2 more questions from kids here in the room.
I always hate that. I hate it. Okay, all right, let me see. I'm going to pick a color shirt. How about blue? Right. Yeah.
Do you think that we've cut down less trees this year than last year?
I hope so. You know, one of the things we have to do is be sustainable. Who's heard that word, sustainable? So if you cut down all the trees, everybody remembers the book, The Lorax, right? At some point, you get down to the very last tree. Well, we're not close to that. This country has beautiful forests, but there are parts of the world down in Brazil, anybody ever hear of the rainforest, where we are seeing trees cut down. Or parts of the world like where I come from, in Louisiana, where we're losing our wetlands. All of our swamps and wetlands are being destroyed. And that changes the whole environment. It changes the way we live with the earth. And so I do hope, and I do think that we've come a long way in this country in learning how to live with nature instead of against it, but we have a long way to go. And you guys are going to have to do some of that. All right, on this side, I'm going to pick green for Earth Day. Who has on a green shirt? Yes, sir.
What happens when you cut down a tree?
What happens when you cut down a tree? Well, it's one less tree to make oxygen, and it's one less tree, but we also use trees. There's nothing wrong with using trees. What's this floor made out of? Wood. So what we have to do is find a way to be sustainable. What happens if you cut down a tree, but you plant 2 trees? So at the end of the day, you actually have 1 more tree than you had. Now, it takes a long time to grow a tree. So one of the things, maybe some of you will grow up to be foresters. And one of the things a forester does is figure out how to manage big forests of trees so that at the end of the day, you get more than you had when you started. Or at least you don't find yourself running out. Because remember, this is all about being sustainable, being able to continue the way we want to live, but in a way that makes it easy for other people to live on this earth too.
There were a couple panicked faces because I was walking up. They were afraid they weren't going to answer the questions. But we have one more question from a young woman in Massachusetts that we promised we would answer. So if we can watch one more video question, and if the administrator will take one more question from the audience, we're going to be done for today. You guys have had such great questions. But let's watch the question from a young woman who's with PTO Today in Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Lily and I'm 10 and I'm from Millville, Massachusetts. I want to know how kids like me can help the environment.
Can kids like Lily help the environment? Well, we just gave Simone 5 ways. Well, we really gave you 6, right? So we can repeat those 6 ways. Let's remember one more time. Number 1 was recycle. Number 2 was turning off the lights. Number 3 was taking shorter showers and being careful with that bath water, right? Huh? Turning off the sink while you're brushing your teeth. What was number 4? Vampires. Go around and try to make sure that you're not helping with the vampire population in your house. Unplug those chargers, especially for your games. Now, you little ones, you be careful when you fool with electricity, but there's nothing wrong with asking your parents to make sure you unplug those chargers as you get older. And what was number 5? Taking shorter showers, right. And there was something else. Turn up the heater, turn down the heater. Don't make it so warm in the winter or so cold in the summer. That's one other thing trees do for us, by the way. They give us shade. Yes, ma'am. I can't hear you.
How can the squiggly lights help?
How can the squiggly lights help? Very good question. Who knows? Okay, so what are those squiggly lights called? Just yell it out. Anybody know? CFL, compact fluorescent lights. You know what they are? They're much more energy efficient. They use a lot less electricity. They last a long time. They don't make as much heat, and they give us a lot more light for a lot less energy. They're energy misers, so they help by cutting down on how much energy we use.
And you can look for ones that have earned the Energy Star. And I'm going to cut you off, but we promised Alyssa that we would take her question. So this is going to be our last question.
I like your green, Alyssa.
Hi, my name's Alyssa. I'm 10 years old. My question is, why is saving energy so important?
Why is saving energy so important? Because it's the one thing we can all do, it's not that hard, that will make a huge change in our world. If we continue to waste energy, if we continue to be the country that uses up all the energy in the world, at some point, it's going to change the way we live. We're not able to sustain the amounts of energy we use, but all of us want to have a great lifestyle. All of us want you guys to have fun toys and things that use electricity, but there are ways to do it where we're not so greedy. And it's just like when I started. Remember, if you can do one thing to help somebody else, it feels good. It's the right thing to do, not to be greedy with energy. It means less air pollution, less water pollution, and it means a healthier earth. It's one thing you can do. All right?
Okay, you know what? To close out today, I know I'd see more hands, and I wish we had time to answer all the questions. But if your parents let you, you can go online at EPA.gov and type in a question, and we've got people back at EPA who are going to take those questions and send you answers. So make sure if you want to do that, just go to EPA.gov and look for where you can submit a question. But I think, Administrator Jackson, I would like to give you guys a round of applause for being our future and doing the right thing for the environment. Woo! All right. Thank you all, and happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.